All right, good afternoon, everyone. Excited to have you here on our webinar today. Really excited to be talking through some of these reward strategies. Feel like this is a really important topic and one that we are very passionate about. A few quick reminders and notes before we jump in today. We'll be sending the recording and all the resources that we mention here, so you'll have access to that and our slides afterwards. If you have any questions, please drop them in the Q&A uh, box option. That's the best place for us to see it, and we'll be answering them as we move along. Today's agenda, really excited to talk through the total reward strategy. We'll introduce you to this concept, why it's important. We'll talk through each of the 5 elements in depth, and really excited to have Dawn and Kathy with us because we're going to go through, I think, some things that will be very, very useful as you're trying to help your team make sure you have the right strategy to attract and retain the right talent. So there's going to be some great topics we're going to cover. I'm Colby Davis. I'm the president of City HR. I've spent my entire career helping leaders make difficult decisions, whether that is in government or in the private sector. And when I joined our industry, I really fell in love with it because the opportunity to help businesses in our community and especially the potential impact for their employees. That's another reason why I'm so excited about what we're going to talk through today, because it really has the potential to change lives. I love that. I want to introduce you to Donna Jones. She has over 30 years of HR experience, and 20 of those are in the PEO industry, our industry. Her vast experience in a variety of industries makes her an excellent HR partner for our clients. She loves to work with companies to help them resolve their employee relation issues and develop strategic processes to get the best possible results. Total rewards is a subject she is passionate about, and she's excited to be here today. I also want to introduce you to Kathy Garcia. She has 18 years of benefit administration experience and has been a leader in the PEO industry for 6 years. She prides herself in service to our clients, and she enjoys assisting employees to understand our benefit offering. Kathy is a true advocate for helping business leaders deliver the benefits that their employees need and want. So, Donna, Kathy, welcome. Thank you for being here with us today. Well, let me jump in here and set the stage. As we all know, it's been interesting last few years with a lot of changes in Colorado, in the world. One thing that we're seeing here in Colorado very acutely is worker shortages. So essentially, we have 2 jobs out there for every worker. Now, that's great for potential workers. That's not great for business leaders, where we're trying to find good talent to fill. And I think that makes it even more important that we're able to give attractive offers and also keep the really key members of our teams that we need to be successful. So it's definitely an employees market. They have a lot more power, which means we as employers, as leaders, have the need to make sure we're presenting a total rewards, total compensation package that's really competitive. There's also high cost of living. Here in Colorado, 77% higher than the national average. And, we also saw wages increase rapidly during COVID. We've seen lots of change here. Housing prices are 20% higher than the average. That's the, I guess, downside of being in a booming Colorado economy. We also have a multi-generational workforce. Now, this has probably always been the case, but we see some very real differences between, I'd say, the older generations and a millennial or a Gen Z and what they value, which means that our benefit strategies, our total compensation strategies need to change to accommodate that. Interestingly, as you look at what the most important priorities are for candidates, and this came from compensation is right up there at the very top. That matters a lot, and keep in mind compensation is more than just wages, right? It's all the compensation, all the different forms that you're able to give to someone. Work-life balance matters a lot more for younger generations. Flexible work arrangements, we saw the importance of that skyrocket during COVID. Advancement opportunities are key. as well as their ability to develop their own skills. So how do you come up with a strategy that is able to address all of these? I include a quote here I think is really telling of the time we're in. Good pay, balance, flexibility, they're essential, and we absolutely provide that. But honestly, it's not what makes us stand out. In today's job market, offering those benefits is expected. And I think that's a really important theme we all need to be thinking about. What used to be a good total rewards or compensation strategy today is probably just considered table stakes. And so if we really want to stand out, it means we need to evolve, change, and luckily there's good programs out there, there's good technology, and there's a new openness to some of these really powerful programs. So just to, again, as I mentioned, we're going to talk about the total reward strategy. Um, Here's the definition of it, but maybe Donna, I can ask you, why is it so important that companies have a total reward strategy?
Colby, I think you hit on it earlier when you said the multi-generations. Different people want different things, and a total reward strategy takes that into account, and it addresses the needs of the employees across the board. So, you might have a group that really, really want more paid time off, and another group that really wants very robust medical benefits. And so you have to find a way to meet those needs without going out of business, right? Without overstepping your budgets for it. And it's possible. I think what we're going to share today will be really helpful.
Yeah, thanks, Donna. I think that's really well said. And let me just share a couple principles. And I share these because I think it's helpful to have them before we go in and talk about them. For some folks, I think this can be overwhelming, the amount of ideas and content we're going to go through. So you don't need to do all of these things. Let me be clear about that. It's really about figuring out what your employees, based on their demographic, their location, right, the type of employees you have, what do they care about the most? Like Donna said, it has to work for the company, right? You can't put the company out of business because you're paying so much in benefit costs, for example. And frankly, you don't have to be great at all of these things. It's about being great at enough of them that the perception is that you have a really great total rewards package for your employees. I'll also say that perception matters, right? The story that you tell your employees, obviously it needs to be a true story, but the story of how you essentially educate them about how to get the most out of their benefits really matters. Um, if your employees are educated, they're going to see the value, they're going to understand how these benefits can help them. And ultimately, every bit of education on their compensation, on their benefits, is going to make them say, well, if I go to this other company, if I look at another opportunity, those benefits don't look as good. So that perception of what you're offering is very, very important. At a high level here, the 5 areas that we're going to be covering. These are the 5 different parts of the total reward strategy. And without further ado, let's jump in with the first one, talk about culture. Donna, every organization has a culture, whether it is positive, neutral, or negative. It starts at the top. What are some ideas on how to improve the culture of an organization?
Yeah, great question, Colby. And these building blocks are just absolutely some things that we should also consider essentials for your culture. Having a vision, making sure that you have values, things that you are promoting within your organization. Your core values should be something that is discussed and perhaps you can do recognition upon. You can do so many different things with your core values to really build that into your culture. Of course, it does start with leadership. It has to be exampled, exhibited by the leadership. And then making sure that everyone has a culture and a work environment that they can do their best work. So there's a lot of things that we can include in culture. And let's just go ahead and look at some more specific ideas. So when you're thinking about flexing your benefits, flex schedules, even starting to come back as job sharing. I don't know if you guys remember that. It's like, 15, 20 years ago, it was pretty big with job sharing. You would have perhaps a college student and someone that is getting ready to leave the workforce for various reasons, and they would share one full-time job. Doing that allows that flexibility on both sides. That's making a comeback. Remote work or even hybrid. So remote work is great, but sometimes it's good to have people in the office. It doesn't matter if it's fully remote or hybrid. Being able to work from home is huge to many people. COVID taught us that it is an option, whereas prior to that, we kind of thought, no, everybody needs to be in the office. But we learned very, very quickly that there are other ways to get the work done. And on the fun side, I love the fun side, right? How would you guys feel about having your executive wash your car? Kind of fun, right? Lunch on the company, that's a pretty basic one. It's one that many times we do, a pizza party, something like that. But every now and then doing that, and what I mean from that is if you do it weekly, it becomes an entitlement. And when you're not able to do it anymore, then people start to say, well, how come? What happened to the lunches? They used to give us lunch and now they don't. And so now it is seen as a negative instead of this positive where it can be spontaneous. Just we had a great week. Let's just day or two beforehand, say company's going to buy lunch for everyone. If you work remote, we'll give you X number of dollars to purchase your lunch. And if you're not working remote, come into the office and let's all share this time. Bring your dog to work day. We did that at another company I was involved in, and it was so much fun. Now, the thing to do is keep in mind that some people are allergic to dogs. Some people don't like dogs or afraid of dogs. So you need to have dog-free zones within the organization and the office to ensure that everyone is able to feel comfortable, or those individuals perhaps can work from home that day. Sponsoring teams, all of those things, company picnic, bringing your team together in so many different ways in order to share time and to get to know one another off the clock can be really meaningful. Now, it's voluntary, right? If you say you have to come to this event, perhaps you have a retreat and you're going to be doing work tasks, then it has to be paid for some of that time, right? For the time that you're working. But if it's voluntary, just come together and have fun, then it's an opportunity for people to get together.
That's really great ideas, Donna. And again, you don't obviously have to do all of these fun ideas. I do think it's really important that you put some serious thought into whether you're going to allow remote or hybrid work. That one you have to, I think every company has to think through that and make sure they can address it well with their employees. But yeah, those fun, low-cost ideas, they can do a lot with very little dollars attached to it. I don't think we've had any questions come in, so let's go ahead and go right into comp strategy. Donna, this is another question for you. The per hour wage that employee earns along with the associated taxes are a huge line item in every company's budget. Help us understand some strategies that can help us as we are trying to make sure that we have competitive wages.
Sure. Yeah. And, when you think about creating a compensation strategy or thinking about how is this going to work for us, then there's some decisions to be made up front. Do you want to be leading the market? Do you just want to be competitive? Are you okay with lagging in wages so that you can add more, better benefits on that end? Because again, total compensation brings all of those factors into account and together. So you can look at, again, first of all, create your philosophy. What is it that we want? Are we trying to get the best of the best? Then you're going to be leading the market in your wages, as well as having really robust benefit offerings as well. You can look up different compensations. There's a number of ways. There's lot of free options out there, and there are a few that do have fees involved. But, of course, when you're paying a fee for that information on pay ranges and things like that, then you are going to get good information. So you set your base pays. Base pays are important because this is the minimum that you're willing to pay for that job. That needs to be set in advance, because then you're going to create, well, how do people earn more? How, here's the start. You're also going to set the top of that range, and how do they get from one end to the other? At what point would you hire at? Would you hire at 50% of the range? So that somebody coming in with more experience can get started at a higher range? Or are you going to have everyone start at the bottom and then earn and be able to, meeting performance expectations, and other types of, requirements? It might be educational, be able to move up into that range. How do they go from one range to the next? How do they get a promotion? Even if it is a HR consultant to a lead HR consultant, right? Something like that. What's your strategy for how do you build people? Having a really good strategy that is well thought out and communicated to your staff can really help on the retention end.
Oh, that's a really good point. And on the communication point, I'd mentioned that earlier. What do you think are some of the most important things that an employer can do when they're communicating pay raises, for example, or changes in pay, to make sure employees understand why things are happening and that they end up feeling good about it? Thoughts on that?
Yeah, great question, Colby, because like when you're thinking about performance evaluations, the trend is to separate evaluations from pay increases. And the reason for that is because when, if you're going into a meeting with one of your staff and it's about their review, that employee, I mean, let's be honest, they're sitting there thinking like, did I get a raise? Did I not? If they did get a raise, then they're spending that money in their mind, they're spending it. And if they didn't, then in their mind, they're thinking about all the reasons that they should have got a raise and they didn't, and they're mad. And so let's separate those two things, talk about evaluations and their performance separate from pay, because, the two can influence one another with merit type increases, but there can also be factors that are keeping them separate. So for instance, cost of living increases. Let's say you decide that in 2024, you as an organization are able to provide increases between 2% and 8%. Well, when it's time to meet with employees, I'm going to tell my staff that here's the range that we looked at, here's where you fell, and here's why. Everybody was at the 2%. Nobody could get less than 2%. You're at the top of your range, so we have left you at that 2%. Or you were hired 3 months ago, so you're not eligible yet. Or you've done an excellent job. You have met all of the expectations and you are learning continuously. And so therefore we put you at the high end, 7 or 8% increase. Having that up front, letting them know where they could have been, helps to take away some of the anxiety or that thought of where, oh my gosh, what do you mean I only got 8%? I thought I was going to get 20. I mean, we all deserve 20, right?
We all want 20. There's no doubt about that. We all want 20. Those are some great points, Donna. And again, I think that communication piece is very important, right? You don't have to share every nitty-gritty detail how you got there, but they need to understand the process and the factors that went into it. So then maybe they can understand why 20% wasn't obtainable for them, at least this time. Don, we have some new legislation here in Colorado around equal pay. Could you walk us through that?
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. So the Equal Pay Act actually came about in Colorado a few years ago, and it really is about equity in pay, right? And we're seeing equal pay acts throughout the United States. More and more states are doing this. It is equal work for equal pay. And we all know that there's pay disparity. And so this is intended to stop that. So when you hire someone, they get that base, that lowest amount. You don't pay them based on what they earned at their last job, because that's going to continue any sort of pay disparity. So that's the first thing. Now, the second thing is that equal pay also really did go into a lot of job posting requirements. These were things that were announced early on. This slide itself talks about the latest updates. So they've updated pretty much every year so far. They've added more things, they've clarified here and there. And the most recent updates were to clarify on, when you are doing, and I'm sorry, for job posting, that's both internal and external postings. So when you're doing an internal job posting, once someone has been hired, you're required to tell the employees who that person is. Like who they are, why they were hired, what's their experience, when's their start date, just some of that basic information in order for the employees to have some idea of who was hired and perhaps help them to understand why they weren't if they applied. They also, very important to know that they extended that statute of limitations for a wage discrimination claim. So it was 3 years, now it's 6 years. And, many, many years ago, there was the Lilly Ledbetter. It was a federal act about pay discrimination. And so from my understanding of this is that Colorado is doing something similar. And every time that there is a pay disparity where there's like, I'm not being paid as much as the people that do the exact same job as me, I have an opportunity to make that claim when I get paid. So with every paycheck, I'm still getting paid less than my colleagues. So now I can make that claim. Important to know, but also, that's the whole point of this. The whole point of the act is to bring equal pay into our culture, into our arena. Now, on the bottom here of the slide, it talks about PayScale. PayScale is a really awesome program. It is a website database of compensation profiles. And there is a fee involved in PayScale, and you can create profiles. It has a lot of really great information. You can drill down to, where you're living, the exact duties that individual will be required to do, so that you're really getting information that is comparable to other people in the same area, in the same geographic area, that are performing the same type of work with the same type of experience.
That's really helpful. Dawn, a question came in. You'd mentioned you don't want to continue pay disparity if they've been paid less than they should have been at their last job. When you are interviewing a candidate and you want to make sure you're aligned on compensation expectations, what do you recommend as a good question to ask to make sure we're staying compliant, but also, learning what we need to about what that prospective employee is looking for?
Yeah, and so part of the job posting requirements is to put them out that you are the range that the position starts with. So that's a great way to address it, is to say, the pay that this job starts at this amount, or the range goes from here to here. Does that meet your expectations? Now, what you don't want to do is to ask them, how much did you make at your last job? Because that's something that is, the act actually says you cannot ask that. So if they tell you, if they say, well, the range starts at 65,000 and paid 80 at my last job, I really would like you to pay me 80. Then you can have a discussion with them about the position goes from 60 to 75. Perhaps, this is the top that I can pay you. But you should not change that range because they earned more at their last job. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's a really good point. And I think a good point for all of us not to say, well, what are you making today? Or what did you make in your last job, to stay away from that. Donna, you would share some really, I think, good principles for all of us to return to as we assess our compensation strategy. And we've shared these here. Anything you want to add about these? And again, for everyone who is listening, We're not going to go through each of these, but this is some good questions you can refer back to as you're assessing to make sure that you have a complete compensation strategy. But Donna, anything you want to add here?
I don't. I think this is a really, really complete list, Colby. And I think that as you are thinking, like, am I wanting to create a compensation strategy? Then look at this list and say, where do I start? As I said before, you need to get your philosophy. But then once you have your philosophy, make sure you have job descriptions. These are all so important because when you're saying, I'm going to look up how much somebody makes that does this job, well, we have to have something to say, what are they going to do? And so that job description, can be so important. But yeah, this is a great checklist. Even if you're only able to start with one or two, or maybe you do one a month, then you're going to be able to start working towards that goal of a strategy. And thinking total rewards, Kobe, you said this earlier, don't try and do everything. You're going to drive yourself crazy and you're going to end up with nothing done because it's just too much. So pick something that you decide is the most meaningful and work on that.
Yeah, I think that's really wise advice, Donna. Not just because I gave it, but because I think it's realistic. And I'd say, you might say, holy smokes, well, it's April and we don't do these, we don't do pay raises or we don't do our review our benefits until, the beginning of the year. That's when we make changes. Well, I think what we're trying to get at is there's research, there's a lot of thought that needs to go into it. And if you wait until October, November, December, you're going to be too busy. So use the quiet times of the year to start thinking about your compensation strategy, your total reward strategy, so you're ready to roll it out.
Yeah, and even be prepared for employees that are asking, they want a raise and you're not that. Be prepared on how you're going to respond to them.
Yeah, good point, because it's going to happen. Not a question of if, it's just a question of when. All right, well, let's jump into this next section here. Kathy, you've been so quiet and patient. I know we're going to a section that you love. Walk us through at a high level what we should be thinking about when it comes to more traditional employee benefits.
Sure. And I would like to start by letting everybody know I apologize. I've been kind of quiet because I'm under the weather. So I was trying to make sure that I could save my voice for the screens that we're going to actually need my attention to them. So I'm going to go over some of the benefits that your organization will be focusing as far as benefits go. Other benefits is not just health, but as you guys can see on this screen, I thought this screen really stood out to me. As you guys can see, it gives you an overview, right, of some of the benefits that other organizations are offering. But I think that if you pay attention here, 91% on the mental health. It's kind of like Kobe and Donna mentioned earlier, right? Some of the benefit offerings that your organization is going to offer, you're not going to offer everything. But this actually gives you an idea of something that you might want to focus on. I think that with COVID, people being secluded to being indoor and not being able to get out, it really impacted mental health for a lot of individuals. So you want to ask yourself, what are some of the ways that you can assist your employees in controlling mental health issues? So some of the ways to doing that is by offering them stress management, telemedicine, mindful meditation, lifestyle spending account. And I want to make sure, because when I looked at this, even me being a benefits manager, one of the bullet points that stood out to me was the lifestyle spending account. In case you have the question, it is not pre-tax. And the benefit is basically where you allow your employees to put money aside for their mental well-being. It's basically kind of like to help them save. Some of us, I think we all are guilty of this. We get paid, and it's just like Donna said, in the back of your mind, when you're giving merits, the first thing they're thinking about is how am I going to spend it, right? So what this does is this allows them to put money aside so they don't deal with the stress of having to come up with that money when they have important stuff like having to go to the doctor, getting a toothache, and not having the money to pay for that when it does come up. These are some of the benefits from you putting the lifestyle spending account at your organization.
I really love that, Kathy. And I think And organizations that do this, they're going to stand out for the care and concern, because not only do you need to set up an account like that, but then you're able to educate your employees. And anyway, I love that, because I think employees are going to feel the love, if you will, from their employer and the care they have for them. Maybe let's jump in and go a little bit deeper into some of the more traditional benefits. And Kathy may walk us through what a full portfolio of more traditional benefits would look like.
All right, give me 1 second. So I'll go ahead and start with the healthcare benefits. So, you ask yourself, why offer benefits? I want to be transparent with you. By offering health benefits, it's going to reduce your absenteeism. You ask yourself, well, how is that possible? Well, if you've got healthy employees, they're not going to be sick. If they're going to the doctor and they're getting preventative services done, they're going to have less chances of being sick. So you'll have more people at work to do their job. So it can also increase retention. Employees that are offered a good benefits package will usually consider not leaving, kind of like what Colby said. You weigh out all your options. It's not just how much you make, how much are they contributing to my 401k? What kind of benefit offerings are they having? I'll use myself as an example. Colby at Obsidian, at our organization, something that stood out to me when I came to work for them were the office snacks. It is a benefit that is not that expensive, but being at work, and we all know as leaders, you get hungry. So you sometimes don't have a chance to make it to get away to get lunch, and you forget to do Uber. And by the time you realize, lunch is past. So I honestly think that's a good benefit to have, to offer the snacks to help your employees. So it kind of all bundles in, but I just wanted to share that that is one of the ways that you don't have to spend a whole lot of money, but it impacts employees, because it definitely is something that I was like, wow, that's really nice. So I just wanted to put that. But there's also other benefits that, you could offer at the organization that are standard. You got your dental and your vision. You want to make sure that your employees have good dental health. What does that do? The dental connects not just with their teeth, it also connects with other parts of your body. So you want to make sure that you're offering dental and vision so that they're taking care of the important things, their mouth, their eyes, offerings that are going to assist. A lot of these benefits are benefits that employers don't contribute to. So they're benefits that you can offer to your employees and not have to contribute, but giving your employees the option to have that benefit available to them, it makes you stand out as an employer. Something that is very important in this generation that I have noticed, it's voluntary life and group life. Um, Parents nowadays, younger generations, even older generations, they believe in generational wealth. So people want to work for organizations that are going to ensure that their families are taken care of. So if you offer your organization, your employees, the opportunity to purchase voluntary life insurance, group rates are always cheaper than you going out to buy life insurance in the industry. So giving them the opportunity to make sure that they are guaranteeing generational wealth for their children, for their grandchildren. It's making sure that they have a better start than what we had when we were going through life. It's going to make you a strong organization. And the better package you have when it comes to items that give people mental health peace, give them financial relief, it's what's going to make them consider staying. So that is something that I think a lot of employers don't realize, that voluntary life, disability benefits, short-term disability, long-term disability, those are benefits that you want to ensure that employees feel like they can get sick. If I do get sick, am I going to have financial support? Is something going to be there to help me make sure that my bills are paid, that my kids' bills are paid, so that I can continue to provide as a parent or as the head of the household? Because a lot of times we have parents we take care of. It's not always our children. I know that you get past the age where you take care of your children. Now you're taking care of your parents. So you want to make sure that you have the needs necessary to take care of everybody in your family. So that's where you have situations like the HSA and the FSA. What are those? Those are basically plans that are going to allow you to put money into an account in a pre-tax benefit. So what does that mean for you as an individual? As you get to a certain point financially, you fall into a different tax bracket. We all know that you're going to pay for deductibles, you're going to pay for co-insurance and out-of-pocket limits no matter what. So why not set yourself up to put that money away and not have to pay taxes on it? You'll be surprised how much money you can put into an account that will put you in a different tax bracket. So it's not just a pre-tax benefit. You're not just being able to use that money in a pre-tax situation, but it's also putting you in a different tax bracket. So if you know that by putting that money aside, it's going to benefit you financially, I think it's a wise decision, but not all employers offer it. So by you offering that to your employees, you're giving them the opportunity, kind of like the life savings account. You're putting funds away for medical expenses to be used on a pre-tax basis. The FSA gives it to you up front. So employees can do stuff like braces. When they have a surgery coming up, the funds are available to you up front and you pay them little by little. The HSA is a little bit different. It gives employers the opportunity to contribute to an HSA. Employees actually contribute little by little, and the funds are not available upfront. They're available as you put them in. So just to give you an option of what the two are, most employers offer both of them, but it's completely up to you. It's kind of like Donna and Colby said. We're here to kind of give you guys an overview of what are some of the things that you can do to make yourself a strong employer. So it's a matter of going through this deck when this is all over and making a decision as to what is important to you and based on your culture, what is important to your employees.
Really
EAP
good.
assist.
Yeah, go ahead. I'm excited about what you're saying. Keep going, Kathy.
All right, EAP. So EAP, again, that's another way of you helping your employees with the mental health. Most EAP assistant programs, they offer the 5 consultations, depends on what you purchase, right? But this gives your employees the opportunity of calling to get mental assistance at no charge, knowing that there's somebody available there for them at the reach of a phone call. Because with EAP, you can go in person, but you can actually talk to them over the phone. And most EAP programs are available 24 hours a day. We all know stress doesn't come on a specific time. It's not like it's 8 a.m. Stress is going to come in the morning. It's not how it happens. Normally, it's after hours. Your child does something, your husband does something, life happens. So, with you having EAP available for your employees, you have that option available for them to get the help when needed. So EAP is definitely one of the offerings that I think are very important for your employees. And especially with the mental health issues going on nowadays, you want to make sure that they can get help. It's kind of like how Kobe said. You want your employees to feel valued. You want them to know that they're important. And by you having these type of offerings, you're letting them know what you feel, what you go through is important to us. So I'll go ahead and talk about our final one, pet insurance. We all know everybody loves their animals. It's important to us. I'm personally am an empty nester. So currently my dog is my child. So I want to find ways to make his life better. Same thing as with our children. Sometimes we don't have the money to take a dog to a vet or a cat, whatever animal we have. So offering your employees pet insurance is something that is very important to this culture. People really do care about their animals now. They look at them as family. So offering pet insurance gives your employees the opportunity to get things like preventative. So most animals only have to go to the doctor once a year. But depending on what pet insurance you offer, you also have the ability to have fees and services covered for small things like surgeries, dental cleaning, so stuff like that that's going to assist your employees in having peace of mind that not only their family is taken care of, but their animals.
Great points, Kathy. And I think as we talked about before, you don't have to do everything. A lot of these are voluntary, and that means that they are paid by the employee, right? So it's not going to impact the employer, but people appreciate the access to these. An employee assistance program is generally pretty affordable. Um, that's another great perk that just says, hey, we care about you. When you have those employees in difficult situations, like Kathy said, you can point them to it. It shows you care. You don't have to do everything, but these are some great ones to consider. Kathy, maybe talk us a little bit through the different types of time off benefits as well, if you would.
Sure. So a lot of times people think, PTO, you can bundle it in one group or you can break it out. Personally, I think again, it's everybody looks at things differently. Personally, I think it's nice when you break it out because it lets people know what is important to you as an organization. We want to make sure that you know. Um, I don't think that one is on here, but one of the common ones now are the floating holidays. So floating holidays, people knowing that different cultures, different industry, people, some people want Easter off, some people want MLK Day off. So these are things that are important to individuals. So putting it under a floating holiday gives people the freedom and the flexibility to use that benefit when they want it. So breaking it out, bereavement. Bereavement is something, in case you guys, not everybody knows what bereavement is, so I'm gonna make sure I go through the bullet and explain it a little bit. So bereavement is the kind of leave that you take when somebody passes away. Is you determining whether you're gonna give 3 days, 5 days, or 10 days for employees to take off when they're dealing with grief. You have holidays, paid or unpaid holidays. So some of the examples of holidays is you have it's at the tip of my tongue. People take time off to volunteer. So you can consider that a holiday. So time off of work to volunteer in a benefit that they want to help, like the Boys Club, sometimes the SPCA, people who are animal lovers, knowing that they have that flexibility. You also have what's called the paid medical leave. That falls under kind of like the short-term disability, but some employers, they go above that. They offer paid medical leave. So where short-term disability usually has that waiting period, some organizations offer the paid medical leave that will cover that period so that the employee doesn't go without pay. They're always covered throughout sickness. Then one of the things we talked about this, Colby's mentioned it, Donna's mentioned it, I mentioned it in the previous slide, a mental health day. It is a real thing. It's out there. Organizations are offering it. It is a day to tell your employees it is okay to say today, I cannot mentally handle work. So I am going to take a mental health day. That is something that you might want to consider. Some of the offerings that they're offering depends on the level of your organization of different tiers is considering people giving people unlimited PTO. Believe it or not, it has been researched and confirmed that people who have unlimited PTO tend to take less time than people who actually have banks. So that is why you're seeing more and more companies offering it because people who have banks don't want to miss out on a benefit. But people who have unlimited PTO, they know they can take off whenever, as long as the business needs allows it. It's a mental thing of not of knowing that you don't have to exhaust it because it's available to you whenever you need it. You can offer different times off as far as the sabbatical. So what that means is based on anybody who has 20 years of service, you are giving people an opportunity to say, we value your loyalty. You know, you have employees like Donna who have stayed at their employer and they're loyal for a very long time. You want to reward those employees to say, an employee who's been here for 20 years, they have a different accruing benefit where I might be accruing 2 hours a month, Donna will be accruing 8. So that way you're offering a reward for staying with the organization. Paid parental leave. That is something that nowadays people care about, especially depending on your culture, what you guys are hiring, right? If you're hiring, it's kind of like Donna mentioned, if you want to hire highly compensated, um, somebody straight from college, depending on what you're looking to hire is the kind of benefits you want to offer. Again, we're just giving you an overview. You know the type of people that you're looking for, but paid parental leave is something that is important to people starting families. And it being offered to not just females, but to males, because fathers want to be home with their children as well as moms do. It is, you have to look at it for what it is. Fathers are very much active parents nowadays. They're doing the same or sometimes more than moms today. So these are some of the time off benefits that I think are very important for you to consider.
Amen. Great points, Kathy, and amens to fathers also wanting to participate and be there with the kids. Just like we did in the last section, here are some great questions to go back and review to assess your wellness strategy. Again, you're not going to do everything, but talk to your employees, listen to them, probably most importantly. Sometimes these things come up not because you've asked a question, but just because you're going to hear chatter in the office or someone getting curious about something. Listen to your employees, and that's going to help you determine which kinds of PTO, which kind of wellness activities or benefits you should be offering. Let's get into professional growth. And Donna, turning to you, most employers want to hire people that already know the basics of performing the job they're going to be hired into. Why would we want to spend time on training and professional development?
Well, especially our younger generations, they will take a job that offers professional growth and, learning opportunities above a job that has a higher pay. The studies have shown that, and that kind of goes against what we think. We think pay is number one. Well, the trends are starting to change. Professional development and having opportunities to learn and to grow within a company is starting to become much more important. So, it can be simple. It can be things like cross-training, shadowing opportunities for different individuals, making sure, going back to the equal pay, making sure that employees are available or are aware of promotional opportunities. So then they start getting that interest. So you're promoting hiring within the organization. The employees start to think like, okay, let me talk to my manager. What do I need to do in order to get to that next level? So more and more, the employees want professional growth. Yeah. All of these things. Why does it matter? Here, okay, I just went through that whole thing and here is the slide. Darn it. Training your workforce, I really love how that helps to prevent that skills shortages, because we have opportunities to cross-train. We have opportunities to help people understand someone else's position so that they can have a better understanding of the overall organization. So tendencies in many companies are to silo things, and professional growth, all of this, it really does focus on having everyone have information on not expert level, but has some information and can know what is going on in all areas. It does reduce turnover. I think we're all interested in having good retention. You hire people that you feel are going to be great with your organization. We spend so much time hiring that you really need to keep them. And this is one way you can do that. Now, and again, it can be small. It can be cross-training. You can have opportunities to get to know other jobs, but it can also be opportunities outside of the organization. So it could, professional conference, which could be more expensive than attending a webinar, such as we're doing today. Yeah, there's such a variety.
It reminds me of two things, actually. Two things are coming to mind. One is a joke where one business leader says to the other, what if we spend all this money on training and educating our employees and they leave? And the other business leader says, well, what if we don't spend all that money on training, educating them, and they stay?
Exactly. Yes.
It's a risk worth taking. I think another common misconception, or things that people forget about, every organization has their A players, their employees are making the biggest contribution. That appear to be the most talented. And then you have the employees that are newer to the industry or younger in their career. And it's really easy, or it's a lot easier to think about those employees and how to help them, get them the training they need. Don't forget about your A players. Okay? Because if you can make an A player 10% better, okay, actually the impact on your organization is dramatic. And those A players, they've gotten there by working really hard, by learning and proving themselves. And so you continue to give them opportunities to grow and develop is really important in retaining them. Now,
Yeah.
Don, anything you want to say on that?
I'm sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt you, Colby. I just wanted to piggyback on that just a little bit, in that what if you use your A players to mentor those people that are newer, those new hires that are, or people that are just not A players that you want to increase. By sharing and teaching, they can learn, those A players learn new skills. And therefore they're getting some growth opportunity, and that mentoring builds relationships, and can even be reverse mentoring, where you have, someone that's younger instead of the older employee. I mean, there's so many different things that you can use just within your own staff. So thank you. But yes, don't forget your A players, because then guess what? They'll leave.
Yeah. Good point, Donna. again, here's some questions you can go back or refer to think about your employee development strategy. One more topic want to hit on before we end here in a few minutes, and that's financial well-being. So listen, there's a lot of ways that we as employers can impact the finances. This is something that maybe some people are sensitive about, right? They might not feel equipped to give their employees financial advice. Listen, you don't have to do that. I'd say it's probably going to be more welcome than you think if you can find ways to gently encourage it. But sometimes just setting up these programs, educating your employees on various financial wellness programs are enough. Like, that's enough because it gives them an outlet, a method, support to move forward. One of the most important is retirement. Kathy, walk us through a little bit on the retirement side, the role of the employer in helping employees save for retirement.
Well, retirement, that's another opportunity that you have. Most employers do offer a match. It's your 401k. Some organizations today, they're actually offering IRAs, but the biggest thing is knowing that 401k is also another way of you giving employees an opportunity to be better off financially, preparing for retirement. The truth is the truth. As much as we don't like to hear it, we all age. We all get there. We all are going to get to a point where our bodies are going to say we no longer can work. And the best thing for you to do is give your employees an opportunity to prepare for that time by helping them set up their own 401ks. You can do stuff like auto enrollment. I can tell you right now that is very, very popular. Employees tend to enroll in 401k if you usually do an auto enrollment period of like 30 days. If they don't take action, it automatically enrolls them. And most employees, when they're automatically enrolled, they're like, well, I really should have did that anyway. So I'm not going to call and stop it. So these are some of the things that you can set up: partial match, full match, or non-matching contributions. So it depends on where your organization is and what you can afford financially. Can you afford to partially match them? Can you afford to do a full match? Or if you guys are not in a place where you can afford to do a contribution at all, but still give your employees the option so that they could sign up and start to put money away so that when they reach retirement age.
Great points, Kathy. And one thing I want to point out, especially when it comes to the safe harbor match, um, speaking candidly, the government, the IRS, they're more concerned with frontline employees and their ability to save for retirement than they are about business owners and high earning individuals. And so why a safe harbor is important is at the end of the year, if you don't have a safe harbor plan, there's what they call discrimination testing. Essentially, if only the high earners, right, the business owner, the business executives are contributing and frontline workers are not, the government is going to require you to either make a voluntary contribution to those employees' retirement plans, or you'll have to essentially divest, take money, take back contributions that you've made to your 401k during the year. So that can be an unpleasant surprise for some business leaders. Thus, the high value of making sure that you understand that you have a contribution strategy in place, because business leaders, they don't want to have to get that money kicked out of their retirement plan at the end of the year. Donna, do you mind touching a little bit on the Colorado Secure Savings Program? This is new, and there's probably some questions out there about how this is going to impact Colorado employers.
Sure. This actually went into effect in 2023, so sorry about that. But it did go into effect last year, and it is an opportunity for all residents of Colorado to have an opportunity to save. So really, and there's other states that do the same thing. It's not obviously not called Colorado Secure, but it's similar. And the idea is that employees can save money when their employer doesn't offer any sort of retirement plan. So it has to be a qualified plan, and that definition might change state to state. But if someone doesn't offer anything, the employer enrolls in the Colorado Secure Savings Program. When someone is hired, that individual is automatically enrolled. As Kathy said, a lot of times when people are auto-enrolled, they just leave it there. And the payroll deductions go directly to the state. It actually increases each year. It's kind of interesting. It is a Roth IRA, and it does not allow any company contributions. So when you're thinking about what can you afford, if this may just be an option, it's free, there's no cost at all to employers, and yet it has an opportunity for people to save.
Thanks, Donna. Thank you. We're almost to the end of our time here. I'll just flash this next 2 slides up and you can go back and review them. And please reach out if you have any questions. We're also happy to help afterwards if there's any questions. Student loan repayment assistance, I think particularly for Gen Z, increasingly important as you look at the amount of debt that they are on average going to have coming out of their studies. It's pretty high. It's quite high. And there's also, I'd say just more generally, opportunities to impact your employees financially through offering equity of some kind, profit sharing, performance bonuses. These are really important. And for some people, they're essential for their willingness to join an organization. As we send out the slides for this webinar, we're also going to be sending this flyer. This is a great template to help you work through, make sure you have a strong total reward strategy. Again, please reach out if we can ever help. I'll just put a little plug for us. We love benefits. We love helping employees. Kathy and her team, Dawn and their teams, they spend a lot of time just helping our clients' employees think through some of these really important decisions, whether that's, what benefit plan should they offer? What should they make their contribution? We're just really passionate about this. And so please reach out if we can ever be of assistance. Our contact information is right here. Again, we'll send the slides, but thank you all for joining us today, for your great questions, and hope to see you soon. Thanks, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you.